Hello and good day, everyone. How's it going? I'm Sean David. Thanks for tuning in. In today's show, we got a true NBA legend, a Hall of Famer, NBA champion, Alonzo Mourning. Welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it, Sean.
Now, Alonzo, you had an incredible NBA career, so we definitely want to talk about that. But we also want to talk about the things that you do in your post-NBA career. But I want to start off by taking you back to your college career. So when you were still playing for Georgetown, I was wondering at that time, who were the players that you were looking up to?
Well, there was so many NBA greats that I followed at that particular time that inspired me during that time of my basketball career. I think about, Patrick Ewing, you think about Magic Johnson, Kareem, Wilt Chamberlain, most of those guys that kind of played the center position. And those are the people that I kind of looked up to because, I wanted to be great at that position at that particular time, so I wanted to follow and mimic the habits of the greats. So I kind of studied all of the great centers, the greatest centers of all time, and during that particular time at Georgetown. And I had the good fortune of being able to play against Patrick Ewing and Dikembe Mutombo. So having that opportunity, it did nothing but, help make me better at an accelerated rate.
All right. Now, you just mentioned some of the best bigs who ever played the game, so you definitely were in the best era when it comes to bigs. Who, for you personally, was the guy that gave you the most trouble? Was it a Hakeem Olajuwon with his post moves? Was it Shaquille O'Neal with his physical dominance? Who was the one that you always felt like was your toughest matchup?
All of them were tough covers, man. They're NBA greats and Hall of Famers. They're legends for a reason. And I think that when you think about the dominance back then in the 80s and the 90s, you think about the dominance of inside players. We had so many of them: David Robinson, Rick Smith, Hakeem Olajuwon, Patrick Ewing. Vlade Divac. The list goes on. You had all these great skilled centers. And Shaq and myself, and the list goes on, So I was fortunate enough to have come up in an era where, there were some really talented centers, and it just, all of them had their own way of toughness and the way they approached the game, but I think the one that had probably the toughest one to deal with would have probably been Hakeem Olajuwon. His overall skill level and his ability to really shoot the basketball and defend. A lot of people don't realize, Hakeem Olajuwon leads. He has the most blocks in NBA history. So a lot of people don't realize that. They think it's somebody else like Mark Eaton or somebody like that. Or no, it's Hakeem Olajuwon. He has the most blocks in NBA history. So it lets you know how dominant he was on both sides of the ball.
Now, you were drafted in the year 1992 with the second pick by the Charlotte Hornets. How many times do you think about what would have been if the Orlando Magic would have selected you with the first draft and you would have played for the Orlando Magic with Penny Hardaway?
I think it would have been amazing. We were both, young, talented players. And I feel like, sky's the limit. At that particular time, sky was the limit for our potentials, so I felt like we would have coexisted extremely well. I love Penny Hardaway's game. I actually had a chance to play with him in Miami. He came during the end of his career. He had a short stint with us in Miami, but yeah, it would have been a great partnership.
Now, the transition from college to the NBA, obviously you did a very good job because you were productive right from the get-go. But that was also then the first time when you actually got to play against the greats. It's the difference from college to the NBA. Who was the player that you personally were looking forward to the most to play against him?
Patrick Ewing. you know, Patrick is one of the people that I idolized, and because of our relationship with Georgetown, us sharing that alumni, you know, and him coming back and really helping me in Dikembe in the summertime and competing against us in pickup games and what have you, you know. So, you know, when I knew that I knew for a fact that, you know, during the summertime that I was successfully competing against Patrick, that I knew I was ready to take that next step. I knew that.
When you came into the NBA, there was a sort of transition from the old school legends to the new generation of players. Guys like Larry Bird and Magic Johnson retired. Were you some sort of sad that you didn't get the chance to play against Larry Bird, for example?
Yeah, I mean, when you're growing up, you know, and you want to be the best, you want to play against the best. So obviously, yes, you know, Larry Bird was somebody that I watched and, you know, and admired throughout my basketball career. And, you know, especially my younger years when, I'm watching, you know, the tape delayed NBA Finals games and everything, you know, the Lakers and the Celtics and what have you, you know. So when I'm watching those games, you know, you're looking at the talent of the greatest players, you know, and you're saying to yourself, wow, you know, I'm witnessing greatness, you know, and trying to pull a little bit of whatever you saw from these players to try to incorporate it into your game, you know. So, yes, you know, playing against Larry Bird would have been an amazing treat, you know, and I missed that opportunity by 1 year.
Yes. Now, when you came to the NBA and you played for the Hornets, you basically put the Hornets on the map. When you came, the success came. And I was wondering, now, since this is so long ago, how many times do you look back and think, okay, you wonder what would have been if you guys got it together, you, Moxie, LJ. You had such a great team. I mean, you had the game winner in the playoffs, that iconic shot. You were on the verge of becoming the team. Don't you ever think back and think, what if?
I do. That was a very talented team across the board. You know, we had some amazing complementary players. You know, our leadership was solid. You know, we had a great young coach in Alan Bristow, and he had us in a passing game, movement offense. You know, so it was just free movement. We got up the court really quick. We had a lot of young legs, you know, so we kind of took advantage of teams from that perspective, you know, because we had the ability to get down the court very quickly and get into our offense early. And Muggsy helped ignite that by pushing the ball up the court, you know. Larry and myself gave us solid inside presence. So my first year there, you know, we had an opportunity to make history for the franchise and go to the playoffs my first year there as a rookie.
Now, currently, everybody's talking about the documentary from Michael Jordan, The Last Dance, and I remember when you were in your first years, you had this. It always seemed like a little battle between you and Michael when you guys played against each other. Michael always wanted to dunk on you. You always wanted to block Michael's shot, and it was always like really, really nice to see. Nobody was backing down from you guys. What was your mentality when you were playing against MJ, for example? What was your thought process? What were you thinking in order to stop that guy that basically dunks on the entire league?
Well, I try to do the best I can, like everybody else, you know. But a lot of times it didn't work in our favor, obviously, because he was the most competitive player that has probably ever played the game. You know, when you think about his ability to dominate a game on both sides of the ball, I mean, Michael Jordan, hands down, was the best to do it. And he has the hardware to prove it. But he left his mark on the game that so many people, tried to not only did we idolize, but we try to pull a little something from his game to kind of help and incorporate it into our games, but the one thing you couldn't replicate is his fierceness and his will to really dominate you and win the game, So the most fierce competitor I've ever seen.
Okay, I still want to say this, though. I know for a fact that you got Michael a couple of times. So it's nice that you're being humble, but credit where credit is due. You got him a couple of times. That's why he was always so excited when he got you, because he knew you weren't easy.
Yeah, well, I blocked more shots than I've, gotten dunked on. So I like my statistics.
Yes.
I like my statistics as it pertains to that, but long and short of it, you think about, the great ones, obviously MJ stands out the most.
When you joined the Miami Heat, you guys had an incredible team. It was so much fun to see you guys play, because you actually had the perfect combination of being very, very physical, but you guys could also hoop. So you weren't just a bunch of strong, tough dudes that happened to be very physical. You could actually play. And I loved your rivalries versus the Bulls and the New York Knicks. And what do you think was so special about your teammates, for example, Tim Hardaway and Dan Marley? What was in general so special about that team?
Well, I think the one thing that kind of stood out was our intensity on the defensive side of the ball. And there was a lot of teams that really didn't want to play against us because we played so hard for 48 minutes. And, Pat Riley is the one that kind of ingrained that mentality in us by the way he coached us, by the way we practiced. Our practices were so much harder than the games. So when we got in the games were easy. And we took a lot of pride on being in the best shape of our lives. And when we stepped out there, we wanted to wear you down defensively. And, offensively, over a period of time, we got the baskets that we needed because it was fueled by our defense.
Now, I already touched that topic a little bit. You obviously have been busy in your post-NBA career. Back in 2003, you started the Overtown Youth Center. Tell us a little bit about that organization and its evolution to date.
In every underserved community across the country, there's such a deep need for whether it be educational support, as well as social, mental health, all different levels of support that is needed in these particular communities. When you think about our young people in communities, these underserved communities, a great deal of them they all have the abilities, just many of them just don't have the resources. So, I was fortunate enough to partner up with some individuals in the community that helped contribute to building this youth and enhancement facility. And a big part of my responsibility was to try to establish the right culture in the building, and was able to identify the right people to kind of assist in this process. Once the culture was created by an organization in Portland, Oregon called SCI, once that was created, a lot of magical things evolved from there. When I think of basketball, a lot of the good that has come out of it was the relationship that I've been able to establish because of it. And in turn, I've been able to utilize that to try to help as many children and families in underserved communities as possible.
All right. Well, you have another project on the way. Tell me about the Capital Campaign. What is that about?
Well, so we originally, when Overtown Youth Center was built by Marty Margulies, 18,000 square feet, a little over 18,000 square feet of a facility was built. gymnasium, classroom, computer labs. We had a small auditorium and dance studio, music studio, things of that nature. All the components of a layout where we wanted to kind of cover all the bases and provide what we needed to introduce young people to. When you think about what the school systems weren't providing, we wanted to try to kind of fill that void from that perspective. And so when you think about those 17 years, the growth pattern that started at the beginning, we never in our wildest dreams would have thought that we would have grown out of that space. But the need is so great and it's continually increasing. So, we decided to bring the building up to code and partially demolish it. We kicked off our capital campaign a little over 2 years ago. And it's an $18 million project. We're excited about the progress, but we still got some more challenging obstacles in front of us, But once the building's built, we got to identify the right who, again, to help change the young people's lives that we will be servicing and their families for the better.
Now, obviously, currently we are worldwide in the corona crisis, and basically everybody's suffering under that. I've seen you on the news. You're like right in the middle, helping the Miami community. So what is your organization doing currently, and what can people do to help?
Well, what people can do to help is to go to overtownyouthcenter.org, educate yourself on the work that we're doing. We accept the funding that will allow us to continue to grow our efforts in the community. So anything you give will be extremely helpful. We are all sharing some very difficult times on so many different levels, And when you think about the challenges that humanity faces right now, people, a lot of the stuff that we take for granted on a daily basis, people's essential needs are diminishing. So when you think about, food and, and the essential needs, they're declining, because, we got over 22 million Americans just in the United States, that file for unemployment, So when you think about that, a lot of those families are living check to check. So many of them don't know where their next meal is going to come from, if they're going to be able to, pay their bills and things of that nature, So we've partnered up with a company called the Liverlean, which, they've extended the olive branch to want to assist us in helping to feed individuals, and the response has been monumental. And I want to thank Scott Harris and his team, for donating those meals. We just use our staff to kind of distribute it to the community. They come out, they grab the meals within an hour and a half. We're 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, we hand out about 400 meals per day.